players, past legends. Past legends.
We welcome aboard David Wildy, North Adelaide, 146 games, 32 goals, life member, former prospect cricketer as well. Sobers Richards Wildy, we'll get to that in terms of a couple of batting trophies at Prospect Land. And, of course, media-wise, where it's more what Wilds hasn't done than done in terms of being around just your casual 31 grand finals.
Is that all?
Yeah, 26 years on AA. Now I moved over to SEN. And, so welcome aboard, Wilds.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Great to be here. I think you just robbed me of 3 GF, so 34 now.
Yeah,
bit of blighty in that.
Yeah, apologies on that. I admit I was going to check that beforehand. Yes, I should have done
fine.
that.
Damn, Wikipedia doesn't quite give us the accurate results every time. We knew it was above 30 anyway. Mate, we'll start at the beginning. How did you get into football, obviously, for North Adelaide?
I always loved footy, but I barracked for Norwood for the first
don't worry, I was going to get to that, Wilds.
18 years of my life. And I lived one street on the boundaries on the North Adelaide side, played all my junior football at Walkerville. Then I badly broke my leg when I was 15 and playing against the men on a Sunday league, and I missed 2.5 years of football. Went back to Walkerville and under 18s. We won the premiership there, and someone from North Adelaide must have seen me play because they asked me out the following year, and I played under 19s there. And in the early days, I used to play under 19s and go and watch Norwood play. So it took me a long while to get away from the Redlegs, but that's how it started. Basically got picked up from Walkerville. And
state junior sides as well, Wilds. So it was state primary schools with cricket and all that as well. Was footy on the horizon there as well?
Yeah, it was. I used to often have the district. You go to Melbourne. I played at Walkerville and we had Broadview and Jeps Cross, Green Acres, those St Paul's, those sort of clubs, and made a lot of the association sides. But I think cricket early might have been my main passion, but it sort of turned when I got a bit older, joined the Fire Brigade, and it was one had to go, and it wasn't going to be the Fire Brigade, and I had the backing of Mike Noonan, the senior coach at the time, and the rest is history.
I do want to go back to the St Peter's YCW now with the Adelaide Uni people and people around Adelaide with this one. When Wilds broke his leg, he copped as we know, the most dangerous thing in Adelaide, the RBV. The random Boz Maloney visit. Now, you can, RBT, yes, the fine and lose your licence, but he couldn't get away from Boz.
Yeah, well, it's funny. He finally convinced me to play it was a Sunday league at the time, and I reckon only lasted a couple of quarters, and a couple of big guys. I was very, very skinny back then. A couple of big guys went from each side of my leg, and it was a really nasty fracture, and in fact, I had my leg in plaster for 9 months back then, and I grew about 5 inches, so it wasn't probably great timing. But Boz came and visited me in hospital and brought chocolates in, and even picked me up, Malcolm. We used to play cards. He used to play cards might have been a Thursday night at St. Peter's, and when you're in plaster and can't get around, it was a really nice gesture. So he sort of looked after me, but that seems a long while ago now.
2 hours of your life you'll never get back, Will. And casual 99 goals for Walkerville under 18s. Couldn't quite get that 100, Wilds.
No, we kicked in we sort of I got to 99 in the grand final too. I think I kicked 6 in the grand final, which we won in under 18s.
What year was that?
That would have been 1977 or 78. But that year I also played 4 or 5 games for Walkerville seniors and 1 game for North Adelaide under 19s. But we had a very good team back then. It was a great year. The following year went out to under 19s, and Rodney Robin was my coach there. They played me in the ruck, and once again I weighed, I think, 11.5 stone back then.
A bit worried if it was 11.5 kilos, Wilds.
Yeah, well, I put on about that from that time, but I said to Rodney, I don't think I can do this. I'm not a ruckman, I'm a forward, and after about the 5th round there, he put me to full forward, and we won a heap of games in a row, made the grand final, and this time I got my 100
Yes.
goals in the grand final. So it was a lucky breaker. We didn't win it. Played against West Adelaide, Grantley Filkey, I think Randall Bennett, a couple of their stars. Filkey kicked 3 goals in the first 3 minutes, and that was basically what they beat us by throughout the whole day.
And then, so, admittedly, my first memories of you are cricket, and that side of things. I always rated you really highly with cricket. It's pretty incredible your A-grade district debut. Who do you go out and face, the first bowler you faced?
First bowler I faced was the great Kenneth George Cunningham. I'd actually run him out the previous day, so he wasn't really happy with me. And back then I batted number 7, came out number 7. And KG was bowling his little wobblers. He's actually, KG was quite fat back then. I know you're allowed to say fat these days, but he was.
Yep.
KG would admit it.
Yep.
I think I made a few runs, not out at the end, and that was my debut. And it's just ironic from that point, we've become friends, for 40 years and worked together for so long. So that was my first A-grade game against Sturt out at Unley Oval.
Do you used to give him a bit of grief on that? Or does he give you a bit of grief on that?
Oh, I'm not sure he remembers. He always makes out you ran me out, you so-and-so, but I'm not sure he'd remember me. But
I agree with you on that one, Wilds. Yes.
I remembered him, though, Malcolm. And but he's so belligerent on the field. He was really quite nasty and, swear at the young kids and that. Now he's he's a gentleman off the field. There's no one better than KG. But back in those days, too, we played against guys like Mick Klingley Sr., Clacker Clark I played against as a 17-year-old. Jack Nason, they were all these guys. Back in those days, the older guys, Bob Blewett, they all stayed around and it was a really strong competition. Even the Test cricketers played district cricket back then.
Yeah, so you played Ian and Greg Chappell and that, and it was every side had a couple of older guys who were the teachers, and it was a strong comp. I scored for Kenzie as a kid, so I watched a lot back then, and it was. I think it's that Salisbury side with Bradbrook and Corsby, Zaddo. Geez.
Oh yeah,
Trevor
Kensington
Pearson, Fang Pryor.
Kensington almost had a stateside, and that's probably where we might have met, Malcolm. I love playing at Parkinson Oval. That's Sam Parkinson and I grew up together. Basically, we made the state primary school together with Harvey Jolly. That's the first time I set eyes on Sam, and once again, it's amazing. You'd have a friendship right throughout from, basically under 11s to what we are now.
Speaking of Harvey Jolly, I actually played against him in bowls today.
Oh,
there you go.
Really?
Oh, I did indeed, yes.
The old small Adelaide.
Say g'day to Harvey and his dad. Bruce Jolly was our team manager when we went to Sydney to play. I think it might have been 1972 around that time, so a long while ago. Oh,
Bruce was involved for a lot of years with junior sport, and that he was a fantastic contributor in that regard. So let's go back to footy a little bit. Your league debut, round 4, 1980, 5 goals under the coaching of the greatest and Barry Robin against the Peckers.
Yeah, I only got in because Mike Dosner was suspended. I came up and lucky enough to kick 5 goals. I think I kicked 3 or 4 of my first 3 or 4 kicks in league footy, but played the next week, only got 1 or 2, and then Dosner came back and never played again that year. And then, of course, Barry left the club and Mike Noonan came, and that sort of resurrected. He made me believe I could play football, and I basically gave away cricket instantly. And after he came as a coach, and he's right, he played bit like the Jack Oatey school. If they believe in you and they think you can play, they play you. Yeah. Simple as that.
And you feel $1 million for them backing you on that.
Well, I did. I wasn't sure. Back then, I just played footy with my mates. I just enjoyed it. It wasn't really a big deal for me. I played a couple of league games and thought maybe that's all I'll play. But he actually sat me down, and I'll never forget. He said to me, "There's a few people at this club that don't think you can play," but he said, "But I do." Of course, your chest, pumps out. You feel like you're about 8 foot tall, and he said, "I'll tell you what. If you're prepared to put in and give away your cricket," he said, "you've got a big future here, and I'll play you." And I made up my mind because I just joined the fire brigade in that time, doing shift work. Cricket became almost impossible. So I did that, I think, at the age of 23. And and he played me, and he was a wonderful coach. Had him for the next 7 or 8 years.
Still always wonder how far you could have gone with your cricket. As I said, just scored on that game. You played in the state under 23 at Adelaide Oval, and of course you've always got that famous honour board at Prospect. There was Sobers in 61, Richards in 71, Wildy in 81. That's always something you can. Two pretty fair names to associate in that regard, Wilds.
Well, it's funny, and Barry Richards is quite a good friend now too.
Yeah.
But Hooks used to tell that the late David Hooks at Sportsmen's nights, and he said, "What's the difference between the three great cricketers?" And they used to say, "Well, Gary Sobers was left-handed," or We've had a lot of jokes over the years, and I think Blewett won it in '92. He didn't quite keep this is Greg Blewett, didn't quite the run going, but I'm very lucky. I mean, obviously Sobers, they say the greatest cricketer of all time. And Barry Richards is as good a bat as I've seen. So obviously way better than me. But, to be on the same board as them is quite good.
Did I read somewhere that Sobers rated you as the best?
I know that Joel Garner.
Joel
Garner rated Wilds as the best bowler, best batsman he bowled to in Adelaide District Cricket. So that's
I didn't know that. Malcolm told me that, but I made 50 odd against Glenelg when he first came to Australia. He came out and played a district match at Glenelg, and that's the only time I've actually played against Joel. That was the year I reckon Malcolm took that amazing amount of wickets too.
81,
81, 82.
81, 82, I reckon it is.
So I'm going to check that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll never forget him walking out. I was fielding it in the covers, and he walked out. His pads, I reckon, were as tall as most people. He's the biggest guy you've ever seen. I mean, what was he, about 6'8", 6'9", but he seemed bigger than that. Like the biggest pads, and a really nice guy. Like he was a very fearsome bowler, but a very gentle guy. And he sort of made a lot of friends here in South Australia.
Yeah, a lot of female friends too. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, you heard the story, didn't you, Malcolm? He drove the 240Z and he took the front seat out and drove from the back. He was that big. He sat in the back seat and drove the car.
Police Academy style, where Hightower sits in the back seat doing his driving test.
Yeah, it really was. But, what a cricketer he was.
So the footy, and bit of irony there. So the footy-wise, your North Adelaide's representative mainly on the KG with a footy show, and that sort of ended up being a big part of getting you into the media with KG, who originally getting you involved at 5DN. Yeah,
maybe it did play a part, but I'm a bit like you, Malcolm. I'm a footy nut. My dad took me to the football when I was 4 and 5, and I could recite every seconds player, from David Shillaby wearing number 22 back in the late 60s. I just knew them, and Damien Nygaard when I was a kid, and I saw Neil Curley break Nygaard's jaw at Norwood Oval. But I had an interest in that and almost a photographic memory. So I think I've always loved that side of football. And for North Adelaide, they put me up as a player's rep to go on the TV and radio quite regularly. And but I always wanted to commentate. It's funny, I never really thought I would, but I always thought I could and wouldn't mind getting a chance. And it's just funny how things open doors and something goes your way and you get a chance. And it's been, 35 years doing it.
What's your favourite memories there, Wilds?
With the commentary?
Yeah.
I think game-wise has been a few. I think the Crows, 97, 98 grand finals. Central District winning their first in the SANFL was outstanding. The bloodbath in 91, North Adelaide and West, I wasn't playing, but I was commentating. But some of the trips away, I spent, as I said, 20 years sitting next to KG. We go to Tasmania and stay at the Grand Chancellor, call a game there, and KG was a bit fond of the old white wine, and I'd have to tuck him into bed at night, and I nearly tripped over the bottles as I walked out. But it's just, and all the friends you make. When I first called, I called with Gary Window, Ian Aitken, Pat Hall. I've called with Hooksy, Ray Fewings, KG, Rowie. You go through Chris Dittmar, you go through the whole lot over a lot of years. And they're all good people in their own way. They're all different, but I think the friendships we've made, Graham Corns as well, of course, and the late Russell Ebert, it's been an amazing journey. And to get paid to do what you love is, there's no no better job. I do it for free. I just go there and I just love it. When the ball bounces, you're not sure what's going to happen in the next 10 or 15 minutes, and been lucky enough to see a lot of good games, a lot of showdowns. Over a number of years, you get to see a lot of games. The Crows, Port Adelaide. Yep.
I'll go back to the line for the radio people to paint the picture. I will say the best radio I've ever heard was the Ted Whitten lap. I pulled over driving. I was driving. I can tell you exactly. I was driving to Jets Cross to umpire Jets Cross from Ferryton Park. So it's incredible that I can remember exactly where I was. And you, Reedy, and KG, it was just it was hard. It was emotional, but geez, you were brilliant.
Well, what happened there? KG, who was a great friend of Teddy Whitten, he couldn't talk. He was just so choked up. So it started with three of us, and Reedy also got a bit emotional. I thought, gee, looking around left and right up at the commentary box of the MCG, and grown men were crying. Just people you didn't expect to be crying. It was when he came around with Neil Curley, and he's waving to the crowd, and he's blind. He can't see a thing. And yet he's making out he can hear and see everybody. And that, to me, was probably one of the great days of football, Malcolm. Emotion. Yeah. I don't think I've seen a more emotionally charged day than when Teddy came around. And he was Mr. Football over there. Yes. He just loved his Vicks. And, I remember that too. We had that on tape somewhere, but I'm not sure where that is now, but John Reid remembers it. KG certainly remembers it, and it was a really emotional day.
Is there one moment that you've commentated and you've just pinched yourself going, I cannot believe I just called that and seen that? Is there a moment that sticks clear?
There was a showdown I know I felt really good at. I remember the Angus Monfries big off break.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that was the last year at Footy Park, and the Crows were leading them about 14 points with 3 minutes to go, and Dangerfield missed a shot at the southern end to make sure of it. And I don't know, I just got in the flow then, and everything seemed to come out just right. And we heard that back, and even I got a few sort of tingles listening back. And Port Adelaide got up and won that game. They had no right to in the last couple of minutes. And I think I said Monfries, the biggest off break I've ever seen in my life. I see it, but I don't believe it. It all came out the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Another one was Crows kicked 30 goals, and Chris McDermott were trying to get them up to the 30 against the Bombers, and finally did it with about 10 seconds ago. He said hallelujah, but it was, I think Kenny McGregor might have kicked the goal. But sometimes you get it right. The endings just lately, if there is, you've got to think what result it may be, particularly a big game. It's a grand final, like in 2017. If the Crows won, you've obviously got to, you're ready to really sort of blow their bags. But it was Richmond, and I was quite happy with even though the Crows lost that game. I think I gave Richmond enough credit because they were awesome that day too. And once again, the words came out pretty well. Sometimes they don't, other times they do. But there's a couple I think I could mention.
And what about from a SNFL point of view? I mean, obviously you've reeled off 35 of them, so there's got to be a favourite moment there. You've talked about Centrals a bit earlier on.
North Adelaide early winning 91, because I just left a couple of years earlier. That was great, because most of those guys I played footy with. And another emotional one was the 2002 when Sturt won under Brent Phillips, and 2 days later the guys are in Bali. I'd gone to America, and I remember being in New York, and no, actually I was in Las Vegas, actually, MGM, and I heard that half the Sturt team had been killed, and I thought, you're kidding me. Like, I'm trying to bring people back then and see what's going on. But that was incredible to think that they've gone from pure joy and elation. They lose their team manager, and they use one of their young players, and a lot of people got hurt. And Malcolm, a lot of had scars, not just the physical scars like Julian Burton and all these guys, but mentally they still wake up and just see and hear that noise of the bombing. So that Central District, as I mentioned, unbelievable. But one of the best games, even though it was played in atrocious conditions, was last year's Norwood North. North looked like they had the game wrapped up right into the basically the last 90 seconds, and it was played in awful conditions. It rained mostly. I don't know what the score was, Malcolm, 7-6 or something.
8-11
really
to 8,
low.
8-11 to 8-10. I guess I can.
I thought
certainly
you might know that.
Quote that off by heart.
Well, he's sitting here in front of me with the King Panos T-shirt on right now.
Yes.
Well, but Norwood. I mean, as I said, I sort of had a foot in both camps. Wanted North to win, but Norwood would be next best thing. And the way they came back and the way the guys played the footy in that really tough conditions, I thought, what a credit to the SANFL. And that's got to be up there. When any game goes to the last few seconds, you're not sure who's going to win, and you don't even know when the bell's going to go, the siren. So you're commentating and think you're just expecting to go any time, and when it did, Nord were in front. So even the last one of all the 34, that's right up there too.
17 points down at the 18-minute mark of the last quarter, 8 goals to 5. It's still staggering, really.
And the North Adelaide lad kicked it out of bounds on the full. When he scored, probably would have won it for him.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's footy.
Yeah.
It is. And Norden Port from a few years earlier, where it was quite tight until the last couple of minutes as well. So there's been some absolute beauties.
There's been some wonderful games. I like calling Centrals because they were so they had such a great side. You mentioned the Gowans boys and Heath Hopwood, Marco Bello. They had a very, very strong side and coached beautifully by Roy Laird particularly. To do what they did in over a decade, I don't think we'll ever see that again. They were just so dominant, and still catch up with the Gowans boys. Now we play golf at T3 Gully together, so they're the best recruits I think ever because they come as a double, 2 for 1.
Incredible. And just their sheer influence on the competition, 9 flags, it's just ridiculous. Well, it's back to your own footy career. So 85, 86, you're playing the losing grand final. You're having your best year in 87. You and I have spoken privately about this, Glenn Goss. It just had to be incredibly frustrating to miss 87.
Yeah, it was. It's funny, for 20 years I denied I played in it. Now people think I did. I said I got third best and they believe you. But it was about round 19 or 20 and it was behind the play. I know things happen in football, but it didn't have to be done. And he just got me the perfect opportunity. I landed awkwardly, landed on the point of my shoulder. And it was a 16-week injury and I had 2 or 3, so I knew I was gone. Yep. But in a way, I think it helped shape my media career. I played the next year and broke my arm, my leg, broke my arm, wrist, and my shoulder. And at the end of that season, KG rang me up and said, "Do you want to come and commentate on football, or just come and go around the grounds? That's what you'll be doing." But he said, "I can assure you that things will open up, and if you start here," and things did open up. Yeah. So 87 was a great year. The boys won it by 15 goals. I could have sat on the bench. I think Mike Armfield and Wayne Slattery did. They got 3 minutes each on the ground. Yeah. So I could perhaps sat there, but to watch Darren Jarman in full flight and get a bit of payback from the Bays who beat us up the previous 2 years, it was great.
Your last game, as it turned out, your last game, a crazy injury. You've broken your arm colliding with Matty Benson's head.
I went to spoil the ball, and I didn't give him my fist. I got him with my wrist, and my arm basically just snapped, and I knew I was in a bit of trouble there. So went off and broken the arm in 2 places. I think I got chalky bones. I've had 8 or 9 breaks over the years, and broken just about everything: legs, arms, wrist, shoulder, bone in my back. I played in 86 with a broken bone in my back, and I stood Stephen Copping, and he had been in hospital with an epidural the Thursday, so we sat on the boundary all day. I think either of us got near the ball. It was incredible.
And, Wilds, you've also been through a lot personally. Look, incredible. You're married to a lovely lady. Jenny involved a bit, personally, where Jenny was involved with Ben's cricket, at Pembroke and at Payneham. She was a fantastic person. Incredible what she did for your tour. And then Gail and Gail's relationship with both your kids and the openness of what Melissa puts on Facebook, etc. There's certainly some highs and lows there, Wilds.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago on February the 9th, which seems amazing. As I said, sometimes it seems 100 years ago, other times seems like yesterday. And the good thing about Jenny, she'll always stay young. She's only 51 when she passed away, and we got photos still up in the house now, and she looks just so young. And I always got by thinking of the really good times. We're married 28 years and together a couple of years, 2 or 3 years before that. So we had a long association, and she was a great mum, great person. She had 600 people plus at her funeral, which is incredible. For it's just bursting at the seams at Centennial Park, and she would have said, "What's the fuss? What are these people doing
that's
here?"
Exactly what Jem would have said.
Unbelievable turnout, and I still think about it. I said to Melissa, something good's come out of something bad, because had your mum not passed away, you would not be with 2 beautiful young boys now and a husband in America and living a beautiful life. And I think she can see that, and I said, your mum's watching over you. You know what's going on. There's an incredible thing happened. I don't know if I've told you the story, Malcolm. Melissa's wedding was in Hawaii and up in the mountains, and we couldn't get any radio reception. And we're driving through there. She wanted me to show the where we're having the day before, where the wedding was. Big ballroom at a golf club there. As we get into reception, the song as we went into the golf club was the song that was I chose for her at a funeral, and I had not heard that song. It's by Enrique Iglesias. I had not heard that song since that day. And as we're driving, she's about to get married. The song comes up, and we both looked at each other and said, "You are kidding me." So I said, "See, your mum's looking over you." So yeah, we've just got good memories, Malcolm. I try not to think of anything too bad. It's all good. And now, as you said, I've got a beautiful partner in Gail.
Yeah.
Mate, I have to ask, we know you as Wilds, but is there any other nicknames that you've ever gone by?
Go the Malt.
I was called Malt. I don't know why. Malt at North Adelaide. The coach Mike Noonan still calls me Malt. All the footballers do. I was called Ness at cricket, Wilderness, from the Wilderness. And then it was Wilds and Wildo. Probably Wilds is the one that's stuck for the longest, but Greg Blott calls me Wildo. Everyone's got different little sayings, but Stephen Rowe calls me the Kenyan. I'm not sure where he got that from. I think in the wilderness. So that's how Rowe's mind thinks.
Not that you're running and running and running.
Yeah.
Rowe's always different.
Yeah, probably Malt is a footballer, Ness is a cricketer, and Wilds now.
Oh, look, Wilds, absolute pleasure to have you involved. Great, appreciated your friendship, obviously, over the years. And, look forward to being a caller on SEN. On with you briefly last night, and it is the issue of concussion with this legal thing, where it's going. Who knows? The end ramifications for that may well be the biggest thing ever in sport. And
it could kill the game.
If
I heard Darren Jarman tonight's. I've never seen Darren knocked out, but he's applying for it too. And if they pay one and they open the floodgates, AFL will go broke.
Yeah,
as simple as that. That's why I made the point. I think if you know your young lad is a good footballer and he wants to play, we all know there's a risk. You might have to sign a waiver to say, look, we're aware of sure, if you get king hit or whatever, you can sue that person or sue, but if it's just an accidental knock, look what happened to Jamie Carr, fell off a horse. She could have died.
Yeah,
boxers, when they walk in the ring, they know they could be killed. We know Phil Hughes got killed by a short ball from Sean Abbott.
Yeah.
There's a risk in everything you do. And that's why I hope all this litigation, I know there's a few lawyers around town that want to jump on the bandwagon, but they'll kill the game. AFL won't be able to get insurance.
Going to go out and sue my car when I drive home in a minute. And that it's crazy.
Yeah.
It is absolutely crazy. I knew it was coming, and that, but I just can't see how people aren't seeing the whole picture.
It's all part and parcel of playing sport. Everybody's had their knocks, and I certainly don't blame, my playing footy for the broken bones and a few injuries. That's we know that there's a chance you could get hurt. I was unlucky. I missed about 50 or 60 league games. I was out. The other guys, Russell Ebert, missed 3. I think one was a poke in the eye. So David Tiller never missed a game. It's luck of the draw.
Yeah.
But my biggest worry is a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon too. There's some genuine cases where people are really not in a good way, but suddenly it's gone from 10 people to 20. I think there's about 150 people now putting their hand up, and that could kill sport. It really could.
I'm afraid, as I said last night, we're becoming a litigious society. We're copying America in so many different ways, and I think people, as we said, we always know, hey, just because you happen to be better at footy. I was limping at a Nord function one night, and Matthew Bartamucci said, "Oh, what have you done?" And I replied, "Hey, Barta, just because you happen to be good at footy and I happen to be shit house, it doesn't mean injuries don't differentiate." And it's, I'm sorry, we all know we can get injured. We all know we can, car accident, etc. And yet we're going to sue at the drop of a hat. No.
And it's not a fair system either. Because you could have played Pulteney all your life, or Pembroke, or whatever, or Norwood Union, and you could have the same effects and the same knocks, but you've got nowhere to go to sue. Yeah. They've got the AFL to sue, and it's these players that are doing it to each other. Half the concussions are the players that have been involved. They're the reason why they're getting it. I think they've got to take some of their pay, Malcolm, and put it to a fund.
Yeah, I agree.
They get paid so well, so put it towards a fund. And if someone is seriously, and genuinely hurt or got problems or issues or can't work, they can get reimbursed out of that fund.
Oh, look, and I think if there's an incident, let's just use the Tony Lockett one on
Peter Caven.
There was a Peter Caven and the West Coast guy, and that.
No, that was Barry
Hall. Sorry, Barry Hall with that. Yes, that's different again. But I'm sorry, concussion in general, nah.
It's a fine balancing act, and the game is definitely more sanitised now than it has been.
Oh, it is.
And it had to be.
But if you want to play, once again, if you want to play the game, you ask any 17-year-old, do you want to play and risk it? Of course I want to play. This is my dream.
Yeah.
But it's no good 20 years later saying, oh, AFL didn't do enough for me. Right at the moment, they're doing everything to minimise, they've taken all the thuggery out. They've made it far more open in cases. So I don't want to see people just throwing the finger at and pointing the finger at the AFL. I really don't.
Footy collisions are going to happen. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
Footy's a collision sport, just
Correct.
like the NRL. You could get hurt going for a mark and taking a specky, falling back on your head. I've seen people knocked out like that.
So you're going to sue
They've landed awkwardly. So just sue the AFL for that.
Yeah, or sue yourself. Shouldn't have jumped.
Bad decision.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy, mate. Yeah. All right, mate. We'll get you out on here. We'll get you out of here on this one here. How do you think the Crows and the Port are going to go this year?
I think Port Adelaide might just sneak it in the 8. I'm not as bullish as some people on them. And I sat in with Matthew Nix last week, and they are very keen. They think they'll go forward, and I think they'll win a couple more games than they did last. Maybe get up towards the 10 wins.
Yeah.
But I've said for a long while, I think you'll see the passing of the baton end of year. Port will finish ahead next year. I'm positive the Crows will finish ahead of Port Adelaide. So Port have been up for quite a while. Crows have been down for quite a while, and it's just natural progression to get players in and a few more draft picks.
Yep.
I think the Crows in a couple of years will be well ahead of Port Adelaide.
Certainly two different recruiting strategies, with Port sort of going with the more tried and true recruits, whereas the Crows have started from ground zero almost.
Oh, let's not forget
Matthew
Horn
Nix made the point. Matthew Nix said they won't recruit anyone with a birth date after 1997 or before 1997. Doesn't matter who it is. Right. They want players there for 5 or 6 years. So
smart strategy.
That's why Dawson. They got Dawson, they got Keys, they got Rankin. These are the guys they're recruiting in. They've all got to be under 25, and it makes sense, I think, because they've started right from scratch. Where Port are trying to top up, have another tilt this year.
Yep, very much so.
Mate, we can't let you go without giving you your radio show a plug, so floor's yours.
Yeah, we're on with Monday to Thursday from 6 to 7 with Malcolm Blight. It's on SEN and also Cruise simulcast then, and I'll be also calling the footy on SEN, which it goes right around Australia, and hopefully I can get a chance to do a couple of games in Melbourne. That's one of the reasons why I actually crossed over. So I just want to end my footy calling, perhaps calling a few non-Crows and Port games. I've done many of those years.
That'd be awesome. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, and I think it can be done if I went over there for the weekend. They could give me a game Saturday, Sunday, come back Monday for the show, and I'd really enjoy that. So I'll probably get that organised, at least do, 1 or 2 games in Melbourne this year.
I'm sure Gail can have a weekend shopping in Melbourne. She managed to fit that in too, mate.
Yeah, Mum and Dad live there, Malcolm, and they live in Royal Melbourne Golf Course, and her sister's over there. So a couple of my mates, remember Dave Robinson, one of my good mates, he's over there. So I know plenty of people in Melbourne, but yeah, we'd have a bit of fun if we do it for sure.
Yeah, your old fire brigade mates, mate. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
If Hutchie's listening, put you on the rotation for some of the Melbourne games. I'd be definitely listening for sure.
I just want to prove to the Melbourne boys that, South Australians can call footy as well. It's not all about Victoria.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mate,
I really enjoyed it, you guys. Keep up the good work. And, it was a good chat.
Thank you very much, mate.
See you, boys.
See ya.
Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe.
And we've just been speaking with David Wildy, and that was absolutely magnificent, just going through his career, not only from a commentating point of view, but football and cricket and some of the events that he's been involved with, and talking about some of those grand finals was fantastic.
And personal side life as well.
Yeah.
Great chat with Wilds. He's someone whose friendship I value highly. Yeah, he's a good man.
Absolutely, and we thank him for his time tonight, and certainly be replaying that as part of a special series that we're actually going to be putting together over the next couple of weeks with all the special guests. That will be released on Tuesday afternoons at 12 o'clock, and it'll be just the interviews that we've done. So
beautiful. Please
listen in, and if you see the image come up on your podcast subscribers, please make sure you have a listen to some of those wonderful interviews once again.
And give us a like and a follow, etc.
Absolutely.
Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe. In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at Sportscast SA. We'll see you next time on Game On.